So good, what are we at? Afternoon now. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. And we are in the middle of this series called The Counselor. And a lot of times we have so much stuff going on in our lives. We're afraid of things, and we talked about that the first week. We talked about our spiritual doubts. We've talked about the different things we believe, the different things that are kind of going on. And so a lot of those things, when we start looking at it, we really need a counselor. We really need somebody who just really, that asks us questions that allow us kind of to answer it on our own. So often we answer questions and we can give ourselves the right answer. You know, when somebody asks us, why are you afraid? And we can give the answer, this is the reason why I'm afraid. This is what's going on. And the same thing is, why do you have your doubts? And we're going to talk a little more about that next week, is why do you have your doubts? You have your doubts because of whatever's going on. But then when we ask those questions, when Jesus came out and he asked these questions, and that's really what this whole series is about, is the questions that Jesus has asked us. When you look at, this week we're talking about problems, and we're not talking about short-term problems. We're talking about problems that persist. Short-term problems, you break your foot, you get a cast on it, and you get to walk away from that. You kind of get, it comes and goes. You get an injury, you can get it taken care of. A cut, those are the problems that we're not going to talk about those. We're going to talk about the ones that last a long time, the ones that have been sitting with us. We're going to talk about, like for me, I've had headaches for a long time. Like even now, I've already taken some stuff to kind of get rid of my migraine, but we have these things that happen to us, and mine happens to be headaches right now, but other people have different medical problems. They have things that have just consistently gone on and on and on. Some of us, we have this depression. We have this thing that's just been, it's this cloud that always hangs over us. It just sits there. And it's like, and it's like, why do we feel so down all the time? Even when good things happen, and we still feel down. We're talking, there's other people who, given every opportunity, they just eat, just overeating. They just eat and eat and eat and eat and then just keep eating. There's others of us that love to spend. We think spending money is our answer to everything. We go off and we spend, and we're overspenders. We spend way more money than what we ever bring in. And there's others, we love to overcommit. We go, I can do that, I can do this, I can do that, I can get this done, I can get that done, and all of a sudden you go, well, wait a minute, I don't have time for my family, I don't have time for this, I don't have time for that. Some of the tougher ones are, we deal with addiction. Some people have drug addiction, alcohol addiction. Some people just have stuff that goes on. You look and go, what is it that rides with us that continues to make it to where we rely on substances rather than God or faith, or, we get to this point where we're like, I got to have alcohol and I have to have drugs in order to find happiness. And then really one of the tougher ones to really talk about is our relationships. Sometimes we have some really, really bad relationships. Some people are in marriages where it's very abusive. It's very, whether it's physical or whether it's verbal, but it's abusive. And it's one of those things that we've learned to just go, okay, well, I'm going to continue living this way. Today, if you don't have a Bible, I want you guys to open up and we're going to read out of John 5, and we're going to read verses 1 through 9. But if you don't have one, we'll get you a Bible. We'll get you one out to you. So you just put your hand up and say, hey, I need a Bible. But we'll open up to John 5. And really, Jesus is out there, and he comes out, and he goes, sometime later, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. There was something going on, and Jesus shows, and he comes out, and he gets up there. And in this area, there's this gate, and there's a sheep gate, and there's a pool by it. And so he gets there, and he comes up, and there's a great number of disabled people around this pool. And the reason why there's a great number of disabled people around the pool is because this pool has healing properties. People believe that an angel, stirs the pool, and it has these healing properties. And so it says here, a great number of disabled people used to lie, the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. There was one who had been an invalid for 38 years. Now, these are both two things that are important. I should have underlined invalid. And really, when you look at this, an invalid, it's somebody who's just... that means that he has no ability to do anything. He's just laying there, and it's been 38 years. It's not one of these things. He's been laying next to this pool for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there, he had learned what had been the condition for a long time. He asked him. This is where it gets important. He asked him. He goes, do you want to get well? Do you want to get well? And for us, that's a big question for us. Do you want to get well? Do you want to get over the addiction? Do you want to get over all these different things that are going? Do you want that? Because a lot of times when you honestly answer that, and you honestly answer, do I want to be over this? Do I want a good marriage? Do I want these things? What is your response? Because you can look at it and you go, maybe I really don't want that, because if you wanted it, you would really, really pursue it. Things that you want, you chase after. Think about when you were pursuing maybe you're married or you have a significant other. Think about when you were pursuing them. You wanted it. You were like, I want this. Especially guys. Guys are like this. They're like, I want that. That's going to be mine. Ooh, yes. And they will do anything to make it happen. They will. They will show up and they'll be like, they show up unexpected in weird places. They find out information. Like, they find out information about you. So when guys, listen, this is a secret for you. When guys want something, they will listen to what you say. I promise you this. When guys want it, they will listen to every word that comes out of your mouth. They'll go, oh, you work there. I'm going to put that in the memory bank. And they'll never even talk to you about what you do for a living. They won't even ask you about it. I found out I wasn't even trying to court my wife at the time. I had just met her, and I was like, we were talking, and guys, if you don't know, I don't dance, and so she kind of forced me out on the dance floor when we were first met, and the whole time she was talking to me, and she probably thought I wasn't paying attention. She was like, he's just this big dummy. It's just, I'm just talking, and he's like, and so, she made some promises. She's like, I'll be here tomorrow, and tomorrow came and went. I didn't see her, but I went back into that memory bank, and I said, and I was actually, my wife is a hairdresser, for you guys who don't know. And I was getting my hair cut, and I was sitting there, and I go, she told me that she cuts hair for a living. I said, I'm going to go find her. Do you want it? That's the question. Do you want to get well? Because I showed up, and she was like, oh my God, what are you doing here? She was like, you do not belong here right now. This is not good. And I just had my hair cut. Can you imagine walking into a place, you just have your hair cut, and you walk in, yeah, I need to get a haircut. And you're like, no, you don't. Yes, I do. And well, do you want it? And the answer is, sir, the invalid replied, I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I am trying to get in, someone else goes down. Now, again, I can go back into my personal life, and I can tell you is that when you want something bad enough, it doesn't matter what stands in the way. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the obstacles are. It doesn't matter what everything else is going on. When you want something, you will do whatever it takes to make it happen. I bring back in, you go, what is going on? What did you do in your life? What have you pursued? Because you were like, I will jump over every obstacle to get to it. If you really want something, you will do whatever it takes to get to it. What is it that you looked at and you go, man, I did all of that stuff. Like I bring up courting your wife or your husband because you did things that you'd never. My wife was not a baseball fan when I met her. In fact, she hated sports altogether. Altogether, she was like, I'm not watching that. That is boring. Now, she does things that she didn't really enjoy at first, but we learned to kind of, become accustomed to that stuff. Now she's a bigger baseball fan than a lot of people I know. What is it that you want? While I am trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me. And then Jesus said to him, get up, pick up your mat, and walk. And at once the man was cured, and he picked up his mat, and he walked. Now, again, we're talking about a swimming pool. It's a pool by a sheep gate. Okay, so imagine this. Imagine we're in a room that's about, imagine that we're in an area like this size, and there's a pool in the middle of this room. And the doorway is right over there, and there's a sheep gate. And sheep come in and out. And so a sheep gate is a little spot area. It's big enough for animals, not for people, not for anything like that, animals. So they're going to come in and out as they want. It's not one of these things that they hang out. They come in and out. They drink out of this lake or this pool. They come in. But the other thing is they like to leave little turds everywhere. So they've got these little raisinets. You go on, there's little raisinets scattered everywhere. There's also ants on a log. You can call them whatever you want, but that's everywhere. This guy's laying around this for 38 years. It is not a clean place. It's not a place that you want to hang out. The pool stirs. An angel comes by, stirs the pool, and the first one in gets to be healed. People are diving into the pool. They run. They're like, I got to get in there. And they go at this thing, and they run. And can you imagine? You got this blind guy. He's not trying to, he's not going to try and avoid anybody. He's just trying to get into the water. He's going to do whatever it takes. He kicks off a leper's foot, gets into the pool. He's going to do whatever it takes to get in. You guys, that's a funny line. You're supposed to be laughing with me right now. So, how about this? How about we change it up a little bit? How about I tell everybody in here right now, there's $1 million sitting in my office, and the first one gets to have the $1 million. All of you are going to do whatever it takes to get in there. You're going to stomp on each other. You're going to, especially if you're broke, you're going to go, oh, I will do whatever it takes to get to that money. It doesn't matter if there's somebody sitting right next to the door. You will put them through the wall. Can you imagine the next line? How about a hungry person who's starving? They're like, I am so hungry. And there's food? I haven't eaten in weeks. You'd be like Scooby after Scooby's neck. I don't know. I want food. You would do whatever it took to get to it. What are you pursuing? What are you after? What are you doing? Is it that important to you? Are you going to do whatever it takes to get to it? It's like my wife coming after me. She does, it's like there's nothing that's going to get in the way. Maybe it's the opposite way. But what are you after and how important is it? How important is it to it? Because you will do whatever it takes to get to it. The problem is, the longer that problems persist in our lives, the things that happen, they come into our lives and over again, we go, the longer it persists, the more discouraged you get. The longer a problem persists, the more discouraged you get. You look at it and you go, I've lived with this addiction for years. I'm just going to keep doing it. You go, oh, we've had this bad marriage forever, and it's just normal everyday life. We argue every day. We have this going on. We have that going on. We don't even talk to one another. And God forbid we ever have sex or anything along those lines. When you look at a bad marriage, you can look at it and go, and sometimes you have such a bad marriage that you even bring it to church with you. A lot of people, they get to church and they go, put that smiley face on now. We're getting ready to walk in the door. And then you walk in and everybody's happy. But for people that have really bad marriages, they come into church and they go, I hate you. And they'll be arguing right in our lobby. That's how you know it's really bad. Maybe it's a health issue. Maybe it's something else that you just look at and you go, you have something that's going on, and it's just like one of these things, you just become, you're just like, nothing's going to change it. You go, I've tried. You can't change this. I've tried. It's already happened. I've tried and tried and tried. It's just not getting better, and so I'm just going to continue rolling the way it is. The next one is, the longer it keeps going on, the more excuses you make for it. You just continue to make excuses after excuse after excuse. The man in the story here, he goes, sir, I have no one to help me in the pool. I have no one. The water is stirred and people run by me. I have nobody to help me. Nobody's going to help me get in the pool. Well, I told you guys, we talked about how bad do you want something? How bad do you really want it? If you can't walk, in this case, he couldn't walk, then roll. If you can't roll, then scoot. If you can't scoot, then inchworm in. Do whatever it takes to get in there. What are you going to do to get in to make sure that you get taken care of, that you get inside of there? Because the big question is, a lot of times, we're not really doing everything it takes to get inside the pool. We're just going to make excuse after excuse after excuse. My husband won't change. My wife won't change. She's just going to continue doing whatever she is that she wants to do. I can't get a good job. I don't have a degree. I got to keep doing all these menial tasks. I got to keep doing these menial jobs. They go, I don't have any time to exercise. I'm too busy doing all this other stuff, and plus I love putting on weight. I tried counseling. Didn't work. I tried it. Went and some guy talked to me for 4 hours. It didn't apply anything that he talked to me about. That worked. Just did it one time, though. I've tried medication, but guess what? I didn't like the side effects. Everything else was perfect, but the side effects, I didn't like that. What is it? What excuse are you putting into place where you're going, I want to be well, but I don't want to continue doing what it takes to make it well? The longer that a problem persists, the more you learn to compensate. The more you learn to compensate over and over and over again. If you're an alcoholic, you become a functional alcoholic. you start to be able to do things on a regular basis. You learn when you can stop drinking at night in order to make it to work on time the next day without still being drunk. You learn how to get through things. You learn how to exist in a dysfunctional marriage. And sometimes that means going out and having an affair. Sometimes that means that you guys are beating up on each other. Sometimes that means that you continue to do these things and it's completely dysfunctional. But you've learned how to exist in it. Maybe you've gotten to this point where you've gotten a porn addiction. You're like, I've dealt with all this stuff as a kid. I was over-sexualized when I was 13 years old, and now all I do is watch porn all the time. Because that's exactly where it starts at. Maybe you've gotten to this point where you live beyond your means. You spend double the amount of money that you bring in. You continue to spend it and spend it and spend it and spend it. And you go, why am I in this sort of financial trouble? Well, because you keep spending money you don't have. You just love spending money, and that's your way of compensating in order to get through all the depression and stuff that you carry on. Many of us may not like our circumstances. We've just gotten used to them. And we've even learned how to manage them. You just get to this point, and you're like, I can just take care of this. But I'm going to tell you is that you cannot change what you are willing to tolerate. You can't change what you're willing to tolerate. If you're willing to tolerate whatever's going wrong, you can't change that. It's just going to continue to be that way over and over and over again. Last week I talked about what the biggest hindrance was to faith. Worry, doubt, fear. The familiar, you look at this and the familiar is the enemy of faith. When you get familiar to certain things, it just becomes that enemy of faith. And it becomes the enemy of what you really want to do. You start getting to the point where you're accepting what it is rather than what it could be. You just start accepting it. You're like, this is how it's going to be and this is what it is, rather than what it could be. The man in the story goes, I've always been unable to walk. Always. What have you always said? You continue to go, I've always been broke. I've always struggled financially. I've always been an average student. I've always dated the wrong type of guys or girls. For me, I've always dated the wrong type of guys. I've always had a bad relationship with my dad. I've always had a bad relationship with my mom. I've always had this. I've always had these spiritual doubts. Always, always. What is it that you always put that in front of? I always have this, always have that, always done this, always done that. Because that always is what's making it to where you are not able to be part of that faith, and you're just compensated, and you've gone, you know what, I don't even have to worry about it anymore. It takes faith to step away from the familiar. You have to step away from whatever it is that you're looking at and going, this is how it's always been. Well, take that first step and get away from how it's always been and start doing how it's supposed to be. You want to get out of debt? Simple answer. Sell everything but the kids. That's what it comes down to. You want out of debt? Sell it all. You don't need it. There's stuff in your house I guarantee that you haven't picked up in years. I guarantee you can go in your garage or you haven't there's stuff that you would have to literally wipe away years of dust. You don't need it anymore. Maybe you don't own a house, but I bet you got a closet in your apartment, and I bet it's got stuff in it that you've never touched. And you're going, I want to get out of debt, but you're not willing to part with the possessions that mean nothing. What is it that you're holding on to that you just don't even need anymore? You want to be free from addiction? You want to give up these things and stop trying to find comfort and stop trying to self-medicate in these different things, whether it's alcohol, whether it's pills, or whatever it is. You find comfort in that. You go, that's where I'm going to find happiness and comfort. I will tell you is that for me, I want to get rid of my temper. Guys, I get angry. Maybe some of you guys have even experienced some of that, but I'll tell you who experiences it the most is my family. My family experiences my anger the most. I get angry because I have high expectations. I have high expectations of my children, of my family, of my wife. I have super high expectations. My staff know it too. They know that I get angry, and I want to get rid of that. How do I get rid of that? Because I know how to control it. You guys, I know exactly how to control it. Guess what happens? When you're here, you don't see that anger. So I know how to control it. None of you guys have ever seen me fly off the hook and start yelling and screaming at anybody in here. That's because I know how to control it when it matters the most to me. It matters that you guys don't hear me yelling and screaming at my kids going, why do you have 3 Fs on your report card? It matters to me. When you want something bad enough, and when you want something, you will do whatever it takes to make it a reality. You will do whatever it takes. The problem is, a lot of us don't realize that the healing will not begin until our desire is bigger than our acceptance. A lot of times the healing will not begin until our desire is bigger than the acceptance. You know, whatever that disability is or whatever that is that's stopping us, our desire has to be bigger than it. You know, he comes out and he goes, no one will help me into the water. No one will help me into the water. And Jesus says, get up, pick up your mat and walk. And at once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and he walked. The reason why I bring this up is because the closer you get to Jesus, the closer you get, he will do things that you didn't even ask for. He will do things that you didn't even ask for. You didn't even ask for that. He didn't ask to be healed. He asked to just be put in the water. He asked to be put in the water, and guess what happened? He heals him. He goes, nope, just get up and go. How close are you? How close are you? Are you close enough to where you start going, man, he can just take care of these issues without me even having to ask for it? Because a lot of times we're so distant, we're so far away. Jesus essentially says here, he says, I don't want to hear your excuse. I don't want to hear your excuse. I want to see your faith. I don't want to hear it anymore. I'm tired of it. Excuse after excuse after excuse. Isn't this what we do with our children? All the time we do this with our children. We go, I don't want to hear your excuses anymore. I just want you to do it. Tired of hearing excuses. Well, this is exactly how God and how Jesus are with us. I'm tired of hearing your excuses. Tired of it. I want to see you start acting, and I want to see you start acting on your faith. You know, we need to start good. You get to the point, empty out the alcohol at the house. Go home today, dump it all out. If that's what's hindering you, then dump it out. Tell your life group about it. Say, I'm making a change. I'm moving forward. I'm getting ready for this. Call for counseling. You guys know that we have people here that they actually do counseling? That's what they do. Whether you meet with me, you meet with Mr. Bryce, you meet with different people. We have people that actually do counseling here, but you don't call. You don't make a phone call. You just go, nope, I got it on my own and I can get through it. Well, guess what? How well has that worked out for you? How well has it worked out trying to handle it all on your own and going, yep, I got it, I can take care of it. Some small tweak in your life can make it to where everything drastically changes. Some small tweak will make it to where it actually works. You go, man, why do all these things actually work now? Something small would have made it to where your life has changed dramatically. You guys, we start talking about we want to change this city. We start talking about we want to do things different here. I know people right now that lived across the street from a shooting that happened 2 days ago. Lived right across the street from it. What does our neighborhoods come to? Look at. We go all the time. We go, look at, oh, alcohol's not hurting anybody. Well, tell that to the 21-year-old and the 17-year-old that were killed in Vacaville this last week. Tell that to them. Because they were driving home intoxicated from Lake Berryessa and flipped a car over. Tell them that it doesn't hurt anybody. Tell their friends that were in the car with them, and the sister that will never see her sister again, or the parents that will never see their child again. Tell them that it doesn't hurt anybody. Tell the people that you go, oh, my problem doesn't hurt anybody. My drug addiction doesn't hurt anybody. Well, what about the two shootings that happened just 2 days ago? Literally 2 within 3 hours. Within 2 blocks of each other. Both of them over drugs. You don't think it hurts people? My drug addiction doesn't hurt people? Well, some people got killed because of it this last week. Look at how we need to start changing. I'm tired of your excuses. It's not hurting anybody else. Yeah, it does. It hurts lots of people. I want to see your faith. I want to see you step out and start doing something different. Jesus tells us, he goes, I'm not going to carry you. I'm not going to carry you, but I'll walk with you. I'm not going to carry you in there. I'm not going to carry you into the pool, but I'm going to walk along with you. And he tells them, get up and walk. And I'll follow. What are you doing? Where are you at? What are you doing in this? You know, and the funny part is, a lot of times we feel sick. We get to this point where we go, oh, I'm sick, and I need rest. I gotta just take my time, and I just need to rest. I don't think Jesus told him to rest. Yeah, you've been resting long enough. It's been 38 years. Get up and pick up that mat and start walking. Look at your life. What have you had going on? What have you had in your life where you look at and go, I need to get up and do something different? Maybe it hasn't been 38 years. Maybe it's been 5 years. Maybe it's been 4 months. What is it that you've been going, I need to get over this, and I'm tired? You've been resting long enough. It's time to pick up your mat and start walking. It's time to get up and start doing something different because what you've been doing hasn't been working. You've been laying there next to the pool for 38 years, rolling around with the sheep crap. It's time to get up and pick up the mat. You've just been hanging out there and going, who's going to do this for me? Who's going to pick me up and put me in the pool? Nobody's going to do it. You have to take the first step. You have to start moving and you have to go, I don't want it this way anymore. I don't want to continue living this way. I don't want to continue going through this. How bad do you really want that? How bad do you want to change something? How bad are you just going to sit there and go, I like it this way? Do you think you like sitting there? Because he didn't like sitting there. He just felt helpless. In your life, you need to look at this and you need to go, what am I going to do? How am I going to change this? What I want you to do is I want you guys all to close your eyes for a second for me. Just close them and just sit there and I want you to look back and I want you to look at what you have going on. So just close your eyes and go, what is it though I need to get rid of? What is it that I need to just take off? What addiction do I need to free myself from? What anger, what animosity, what anxiety, what sits on my shoulders? What do I need to free myself from? What do I need to get rid of? And start thinking and start praying about this and I'm going to give you a second and I want you to just think and I want you to go, what do I need to change? Maybe you're scared to step out and do what God has asked you to do. Maybe God's put a calling and said, I want you to step out and do something. And maybe you're sitting there and you're going, God, I'm just afraid right now. I'll ask him to remove that fear. Maybe you're going, I want to start doing something to reach my community. And you're going, I can't do that. I'm just one person. And maybe you ask him to go, give me the strength to step out. Maybe you go, I want to lead a group or I want to just do something. What is it? What do you need to give off your shoulders? What do you need to change? What do you need to go, God, I want to get in the pool. And he's going, just take a step. Just do whatever it takes to get there. Pursue me. Just take a step. What is it? You know, as you're sitting there, as you're thinking about this, what I want to tell you is that Jesus will do his part. He will do it for you. Now all you have to do is do yours. Jesus will do his part for you. All you have to do is do yours. What is the next step? What do you need to do? What do you need to step out on? What do you need to do different? Because he's waiting, and he's been waiting, and he's going, just step out. Maybe for some of us, maybe it's time to maybe even just start a relationship with him and go, I do want to be well. I want to step out, and I want to do something different, and I just don't know him, and I don't know what am I supposed to do, and I just continue to live this way. Maybe this is the reason why he asked you, do you want to be well? Do you want to be well? Do you want to change? Do you want to do something different? Do you want to be well? Because if you do, take the step. Take the step out and just go, I'm going to do what you've asked me to do. I've talked about it often. How can we ever expect God to deliver the water if we don't have a place to put it? We have to start digging that trench. We have to start digging that hole. We have to start doing something because we have to have a place to put the blessings. We have to have a place to do these things. But right now, we're just afraid to even step out and just do anything different. Maybe you need to just start a relationship with him. Maybe you already have a relationship, but it's just been really wobbly, and you're just kind of all over the place, and you're going, maybe it's time for you to recommit yourself and go, I am going to change this. I'm going to do something different. I'm tired of how it's been. I'm ready to do something different, God. I don't know what it is, but now's the time to make that step and step out and do it. Now's the time to go, you know what, God, I want this to change and to step out. And just go, you know what, I want to do this, and I'm ready to make the commitment and start going, I want this change. Just like you wanted your spouse, or just like you wanted whatever car that you had to have, or just like whatever it was that you were pursuing so much. I would do anything to have it. Are you going to do anything to be well? Are you going to do anything to have a great marriage? Are you going to do anything to be able to Look and go, I'm out of debt. Are you going to do anything? Well, maybe it just starts with taking the first step and going, God, I want to follow, and I want to follow you. Maybe that's where it starts at. But you can't just start going, I'm going to follow you, and then walk out and just continue living life how it's been. That first step usually is going to be followed with 2, 3, 4, 5 others after. It's going to come with more. But you got to take the first one. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much. Thank you so much for just kind of giving us these different opportunities to look back and explore what you and your Son have done in order for us to be able to have a relationship with you, in order for us to realize that we can be well, that we can do things different, that all it takes is one step, to just do one thing different, to step out and follow you. God, I know that I've wavered. I know that I've never really had a relationship. I know that I continue to sin. I just continue to live life the way that I am. That I just go, I want to continue pursuing my things, myself. I want to pursue the things that make me happy rather than pursue the things that make me well and make me want to have a relationship with you and be able to do life with you. God, I want to be well, and so I'm willing to take that step. I'm willing to step out and do something different. Maybe I'm willing to start a new relationship with you right now, or just even start a relationship, or just recommit. But I know that I just can't keep doing it the way things are going right now. If you want to start that relationship, just say this prayer with me. You don't even have to say it out loud. You can say it in your heart and just go, God, I know that you sent your Son for me so that I could have everlasting life with you, so that way I can do something different, so that way I can follow you and have a different life. I don't have to continue doing these things, that I can be with you one day. God, thank you so much. I will start to follow, and I will start to follow you wherever you go and wherever you lead me. And I know it just starts with this first step, and this first step is to follow you and commit myself to following and learning and just beginning this relationship with you, or starting it all over again right now. But I want to do that now. Keeping your heads down. If you prayed that with me, if you're wanting to start right now and you just go, I want that new life, I want to be able to start something different, can you put your hand up for me? Can you just put it up and go, I'm ready, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of doing it the way it's been, and I want to be well, I want this different life, I'm tired of this. I promise you that nobody's going to come and lift your wallet off. You can put your hands up. You don't have to worry about it. Nobody's going to look at you and go, oh, you put your hands up. Oh, you're new. Nobody cares. Put them up. Because this is a time for celebration. This is God going, I'm welcoming you, and it's new right now. You can put them down. Thank you so much. Thank you. God, thank you so much, friend. Thank you for all that you're doing and the changes and the steps towards making us well right now, to making us to where we have this new relationship and its own. You just look at us and go, you are brand new. Let's start walking together. Let's start the process of healing. Let's start the process of changing what's been going on in the past. God, thank you so much. Thank you for everything that you're doing through each one of these people in here right now. Through each one of us that you're going, I'm ready to start changing this community. I'm ready to start changing what's happening. I'm ready to start changing the violence. I'm ready to start changing what's happening with each and every person in here. Their surroundings, but it starts with us. God, thank you so much. And all this we pray. In your Son, Jesus' name, amen.